In C01, you built a classical list report. You coded every column position manually. You wrote right statements for every field. You handcrafted the totals. It works, but the business user asks, can I sort by value? Can I filter to just GBP orders? Can I export this to Excel? And the answer with a classical list is no, no, and almost not. That is why we have ALV. The ABAP list viewer gives every one of those capabilities for free: interactive sort, filter, column reordering, totals, subtotals, and export, all driven by a field catalog that describes your data and a layout structure that controls the display. This module covers the classic functional API, reuse_ALV_grid_display. By the end of this module, you will be able to build a field catalog, configure the layout structure, add sort and filter criteria, enable subtotals, call reuse_ALV_grid_display, handle the user_command callback for toolbar actions and row click events, write a top-of-page header using reuse_ALV_commentary_write, enable display variant saving, and apply row coloring for data-driven visual emphasis. These 8 objectives map directly to the 8 items on screen. Each one corresponds to a section of the module. Students should leave able to write all of this from scratch on the Slide Sandbox. The ALV architecture has a straightforward flow. Your ABAP report loads data into an internal table. You describe that table to ALV using a field catalog. You configure how ALV should display it using layout, sort, and filter structures. Then you call the ALV function module or class, handing over your data and configuration. ALV does the rest, rendering the grid, handling user interaction, managing column widths and headers automatically. There are 2 API styles. The functional API uses call function reuse_ALV_grid_display, passing structures and tables as parameters, with callbacks registered as strings naming form routines. This is the older style, circa SAP R3 4.6c, and you will find it in virtually all existing ABAP codebases. The object-oriented API uses CL_SA_LV_table, with configuration done through method calls on returned objects and event handling via setHandler. The OAPI is more flexible, easier to test, and is what Slite uses for all new development. We cover it in C03. This module focuses on the functional API. You need to know it because you will maintain it. The field catalog is an internal table of type sleaze_fieldcat_alv where each row describes one column of your output. The essential fields for each row, col_os is the column position 1, 2, 3, and so on. Field name is the exact name of the field in your internal table. It must match precisely. It is case sensitive in some systems. Tab name is the name of your internal table as a string. This is how ALV finds the field if you use DDIC auto-population. Celltext_L is the long column heading. Output len is the column width in characters. For numeric fields you want totaled, set $sum to x. For fields where you want zeros suppressed, set no_0 to x. To hide a column from initial display but allow users to unhide it, set no_out to x. To make a field act as a clickable link when _hotspot is set in the layout, set hotspot to x. Option B on the right panel is to call reuse_ALV_FIELDCATALOG_merge, passing the DDIC structure name. This auto-populates the field catalog from the DDIC definition. Field texts come from the data elements, widths from the domain lengths. It is faster for initial development but gives you less control. For production quality reports, always refine the auto-generated catalog manually. The layout structure sleaze_layout_alv is where you set the visual behavior of the grid. 3 fields you should always set. Zebra to X for alternating row colors. This makes wide grids dramatically easier to read. CallWidth_optimize to X to auto-fit column widths to their content on first display. And no_totalin. Leave this empty, not X. When you want the grand total row to appear, it is counterintuitive, but empty means show totals. The 6 callouts on the right highlight the options you will reach for most often. Zebra, callWidth_optimize, edit, info_field name for row coloring, covered in detail on slide 10. underscore hotspot for clickable key columns, and no underscore total. For editable grids, set edit to X. This makes all editable flagged fields in the FieldCat writable. You then retrieve the changed rows via the user underscore command callback. More on that on slide 8. Pre-sort and pre-filter tables control the initial state of the grid when it opens, before the user interacts with it. For sorting, build lt underscore sort of type sleaze underscore sort info underscore ALV. Each row specifies a field to sort by, the priority, suppose, whether it is ascending up equals X or descending up equals. To get subtotals on a sort break, set subtot to X on the sort row for that field. For example, sort by LIFNR with subtot equals X, then sort by BDAT descending. This groups all POs by vendor, with a subtotal line showing the vendor's total value whenever the vendor changes. For that subtotal to show a meaningful value, you also need, and this is the 4-step recipe on the right of the slide, do underscore sum equals X on the NETWR field in the FieldCat, subtot equals X on the sort row, no underscore total and equals in the layout, and optionally subtotals underscore text in the layout for the subtotal row label. These pieces work together. Missing any one of them and the subtotals either don't appear or show 0. With all pieces assembled, the call to reuse underscore ALV underscore grid underscore display brings them together. The key parameters annotated in the cards on the right of this slide. I underscore callback underscore program is always SYREPID, the current program that contains the callback forms. I underscore callback underscore user underscore command is the name of your user underscore command form as a string. User underscore command, I underscore callback underscore top underscore of underscore page is the name of your top of page form. It underscore FieldCat is underscore layout, it underscore sort, and it underscore filter pass your configuration structures. T underscore out tab under tables passes your data. Note it is under tables not exporting. This catches people out. I underscore save controls display variant saving. A allows both user-specific and global variants. Set is underscore variant report to SYREPID so variants are associated with the program. I underscore default equals X loads the default variant automatically on first display. Always handle the exceptions block. If something goes wrong, an invalid FieldCat entry, a program name mismatch, ALV raises program underscore error. Without the exception handler, you get a full runtime dump instead of a useful error message. The user underscore command form fires every time the user takes an action in the ALV grid, clicking a toolbar button, pressing enter on a row, double-clicking a field. The signature must be exact. Form user underscore command using r underscore ucum type syucum rs cell field type sleaze underscore cell field. If you get the signature wrong, wrong type for r underscore ucum, wrong structure for rs underscore cell field, you will get a runtime dump on the first click. The standard row click function code is &IC1. When the user presses enter on a row or double clicks, syucum is set to &IC1. At this point, rs underscore cell field tab index contains the row index in t underscore out tab. Use read table lt underscore per into ls underscore index rs underscore cell field tab index to get the clicked rows data. rs underscore cell field name tells you which specific column was clicked. Useful if you have multiple hotspot columns. To trigger a data refresh, perform your data load, then set rs underscore cell field refresh to X. ALV redisplays the grid with the new data without closing and reopening. If you want the column widths to stay stable during refresh, also set rs underscore cell field column underscore stable to X. The top underscore of underscore page callback builds the list header shown above the ALV grid. Inside the form, build a table of type sleaze underscore t underscore list header. Each row has a type, H for a large heading, S for a selection info line with a key value pair, A for an action line. After building the table, call reuse underscore ALV underscore commentary underscore right passing it underscore list underscore commentary. The commentary appears above the grid with the standard ALV header formatting. ALV display variants let users save their column layout preferences, which columns are visible, their order and widths, the sort and filter state, and reload them next time. Setting I underscore save to A enables this. Users save via the layout save icon in the ALV toolbar. Administrators manage global variants that apply to all users. This is a significant productivity gain for heavily used reports. For printing, use reuse _ALV _list _display rather than grid _display. The list variant is optimized for paper output. In background jobs, ALV output automatically goes to spool. For PDF output, the right approach in modern SAP is Adobe Forms integration, which we cover in C04. Row and cell coloring are how you draw the user's eye to what matters, high-value POs, overdue items, exception rows. For row coloring, set info _field name in the layout to the name of a character field in your output table that will hold the row color code. The color code is a 4-character string. C, then a digit 1 through 7 for the color, then 2 more digits for intensity. 10 is normal, 11 is intensified, 12 is inverse. So C610 is orange at normal intensity. Set the color field on each row while building your output table. Then ALV reads it automatically and colors the row. For cell level coloring, use coltab _field name in the layout pointing to an inner table of sleaze _ special col _ralph per row. Each entry specifies the field name and a color code, giving you cell-by-cell control where row color alone is not enough. The chips on the right show the standard slide palette. C100 gray, C300 yellow, C500 green, C600 red, C700 blue, plus the C110 intensified and C112 inverse variants. Reserve red, C600, for genuinely actionable problems, so its meaning doesn't get diluted by routine use. For mistakes you will encounter in existing code and in your own early work, shown as bad/good code pairs on screen. First, leaving tab name blank in the field cat. ALV uses tab name to match the field cat entry to the field in your output table. Without it, column headings may be blank or wrong. Always set field name, tab name, and cell text _L together. Second, wrong user _command signature. The form must be declared with using r_icom type syucom followed by rs_cellfield type sleaze _cellfield. Exact types. Exact structure. Any deviation causes a runtime error on the first user action. Third, do _sum without showing the total line. Setting do _sum in the field cat but then setting no _total into X in the layout hides the grand total row. Leave no _total in as empty string to show it. Fourth, rebuilding the field cat on every refresh. Build it once, typically in an initialization form, and check if lt_fieldcat is initial before calling the build routine. Rebuilding on every call wastes time and can cause subtle inconsistencies. The ALV functional API gives you a production-quality interactive grid in about 50 lines of structured configuration code. Field Catalogue describes your columns. Layout structure controls display behavior. Always set zebra, call width _optimize, and no _total in carefully. Sort and subtotals tables preconfigure the initial view. Reuse _ALV _grid _display wires it all together. The user _command callback handles all user actions with the exact signature using r_icom type syucom, rs cellfield type sleaze _cellfield. Top _ of _page builds the header. And I_save gives users variant persistence. In C03 we move to the O API, CL_SALV table, which is the Slite standard for new development. Your lab for this module is on Slite Sandbox. Build the Acme PO ALV report with vendor subtotals, a user _command callback for row drill down, row coloring for high-value POs, and a top _ of _page header. Good luck!